This is a wildly dramatic tale of greed and betrayal that asks exactly how far someone is willing to go for wealth. We're going to unpack this whole cinematic roller coaster of ambition, deception, and family dynamics being pushed to their absolute breaking point.
So, let me ask you something. Would you share your spouse with your sibling just to keep the wealth in the family? I mean, it sounds completely absurd on the surface, right? But this highly relatable yet deeply shocking dilemma hooks us instantly into the core conflict of the story. It puts you right in the protagonist's shoes. And as we navigate through this, you'll see exactly how a master manipulator uses fear, poverty, and emotional blackmail to make the unthinkable seem like the literally only logical option to her own children.
And that brings us to the ultimate betrayal. We're introduced to Deborah, a woman who's been suffering through a childless marriage, only for her incredibly greedy mother, who we'll call Mama, to propose just an unthinkable, devastating solution to protect their wealth.
Let's break down the timeline of this deception, because the agonizing length of it is just staggering. First, Deborah endures 4 long years of a childless marriage completely alone. Then Mama steps in and forces a second marriage, so her sister Kate spends 3 years in the exact same fruitless situation. That is 7 combined years of these two sisters sharing a husband, living under one roof, and enduring constant emotional abuse from their mother, who blames them entirely for not getting pregnant. And now, in the present day, Mama's preparing to sacrifice her youngest daughter, Anne, to the exact same fate.
You have to understand, Mama is driven entirely by her fear of losing her financial lifeline. When her daughters actually try to resist this twisted arrangement, she throws their past trauma right in their faces. She reminds them of their life back in the village, roasting plantains, wrapping them in old newspapers, begging former classmates for scraps. To Mama, Robinson isn't a son-in-law, he is a bank. He pays for the university fees, the Netflix subscriptions, the business imports from China, the houses, the whole shebang. She literally equates money with life, and she completely blinds herself to the emotional slaughter of her own daughters.
The juxtaposition here is just completely wild. You have Mama reaping all the rewards while her daughters endure absolute psychological torment. While Deborah and Kate are crying in their rooms, constantly downing obscure herbal remedies, and dealing with a massively stressful shared marriage, Mama's out there living her absolute best life in the city. I'm talking brand new cars delivered to her doorstep. She's plotting her run for the presidency of the exclusive Lagos Elite Women Club, casually throwing around millions of naira just for nomination forms. Literally, the deeper the daughters sink into depression, the higher Mama climbs the social ladder.
Mama gets so desperate that she actually forces the collection of the bride price at her son-in-law's house, which totally shatters cultural norms, just to lock in her payday. For a bit of context, a bride price is a deeply respected cultural event, and it traditionally takes place at the bride's family home. But Mama, she doesn't want to risk taking the family back to the village for a ceremony where people might talk or object to this bizarre setup. So she brings her brother straight to Robinson's house in the city to collect the bride price right there in the living room. She completely strips the tradition of its dignity, all for the sake of speed and secrecy. Deborah has this heartbreaking realization, asking, where has it been heard that an uncle would go to the man's house to collect dowry? It really emphasizes just how absurd and transactional this family dynamic has become. Even she recognizes that this is an absolute abomination of their culture. But Mama, she dismisses her entirely. She just claims that culture is whatever people decide to start doing. It's honestly a masterclass in manipulation. Mama is rewriting the rules of society, culture, and family loyalty on the fly, tailoring every little thing to ensure her own comfort is never threatened.
Which leads us to, a desperate plan escalates. Because after 7 total years of failure between the two older sisters, Mama's greed somehow hits a new rock bottom. She sets her sights on forcing her youngest daughter, Anne, into the exact same marriage trap.
But hold on a second. Just as the drama reaches a boiling point, we really have to pause and ask, what is actually happening behind closed doors with Robinson? Mama has been relentlessly attacking her daughters, calling them fruitless, barren, useless. She's convinced everyone, even Deborah and Kate, that they are the ones who are broken. But the sisters have visited multiple high-end hospitals, they've taken countless tests, and physically, there is absolutely nothing wrong with them. So the narrative forces us to pivot and finally shine a massive spotlight on the man at the center of this entire twisted web.
And this brings us to the shocking twist. You're going to want to lean in for this part, because the pacing of the story completely flips when a third party decides they've finally had enough of the lies. Throughout the story, Robinson's friend Mike has been this background voice of reason. He's constantly questioning Robinson's excessive drinking and his erratic choices, and when Mike realizes that Robinson is allowing his mother-in-law to destroy 3 young women's lives just to protect a massive lie, Mike decides to blow the whistle.
Mike literally drops the mic.
In front of Mama, Deborah, Kate, and Robinson, he flat out declares, "Your son is sterile. He lacks the ability to impregnate a woman." The sheer shock of this moment is incredible. For 7 long years, the blame, the shame, and the tears were entirely misdirected.
Just think about the sheer scale of this guy's betrayal. Robinson let 2 sisters endure years of misery just to cover up his own medical realities and his drinking habits. And he didn't just stay quiet about it, he actively manipulated the whole situation. When his wives insisted on going to the hospital, he secretly bribed doctors to forge test results claiming he was perfectly fine. He was actually prescribed medication to help his condition, but he flat out refused to stop his excessive alcohol consumption, which rendered the treatment completely useless. He gaslit his wives into believing they were the problem, allowing them to be emotionally destroyed by their own mother, all to protect his own fragile ego.
And then we get a moment of just unbelievably dark tragedy. Even after this devastating reveal, Mama's only concern is whether Robinson can be fixed so she doesn't lose her club membership. You would think a mother, upon learning her daughters were tortured for 7 years over a lie, would be furious at the man who did it, right? Not Mama. While Deborah and Kate are weeping and cursing Robinson for literally stealing their youth, Mama completely ignores them. She turns directly to Mike and frantically asks if stopping the alcohol will make Robinson's medication work. It's the ultimate confirmation that she truly feels nothing for her children. Her only allegiance is to the wealth.
Okay, lessons from the chaos. Now that we've unpacked this wild ride, let's take a step back. Let's explore the core takeaways we can apply to real life and extract some profound wisdom from the fallout of Mama and Robinson's devastating partnership.
These vital life lessons show us exactly why boundaries, honesty, and family loyalty matter so much more than a comfortable bank account. First, we see the destructive power of unchecked greed. Mama's desire for status blinded her so deeply that she literally commodified her own daughters. We also witness the absolute inevitability of the truth coming to light. I mean, Robinson spent 7 years, endless amounts of money, and immense energy trying to bury his secret, but a lie that big simply cannot be contained forever. Furthermore, the tragedy of prioritizing wealth over well-being is crystal clear here. The money brought no actual joy, only paranoia, stress, and broken relationships. And finally, the immense danger of protecting toxic secrets. Robinson's silence didn't save his pride, it ultimately humiliated him in front of everyone he cared about.
To wrap this explainer up, I want to leave you with a final provocative thought about the true cost of family loyalty. When the people who are biologically wired to protect you are the exact same ones actively selling you out for a comfortable lifestyle, where do you draw the line? Does blood inherently demand forgiveness? Or is there a point where walking away and cutting those toxic ties is the absolute only way to actually win? It's a heavy question for sure, but after seeing Deborah and Kate's journey, it's one we all really need to consider. Thanks so much for joining me on this deep dive, and keep questioning the narratives around